this content is for kids.
It's not for kids.
Isn't that what I said?
No, it's not for kids. If you are 13 years or younger, this is not for you. Do I have to kill somebody in order to actually make that point across?
No, man, you don't have to kill
Wait
no
a
one.
second.
No. When
we return to our planet, the High Court may well sentence you to torture.
He likes movies, we like movies. Septum Sin versus the world. 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 I'd buy that for $1.
Greetings! You're watching Septum Sen versus the World. I'm Septum Sen, this is Kotobuki Jake, and we're here to show you what they got.
They got.
In any case...
Although we only got some of it.
In any case, there's a huge anime listing this week.
Huge.
Except no Gundam.
Yeah.
So, instead of our normal run-through, because there's only 2 titles out, we're just going to cover those 2, show the slideshow with the anime included, and that way you animo folks still get your shining star of coverage, so to speak. So let's go ahead and get that out. And I will put this up so that Jake can see. And we've got our...
So we're doing the slideshow after we talk about the anime.
Yeah.
Okay, that makes sense.
We'll do our 2 animes.
Okay. Well, since you don't have a visual to work with ahead of time, let me go ahead and just tell you, we have what I believe is initial release of a movie. Actually, I just realized this is an hour-long movie called Laidbackers, which is coming to you via Sentai Filmworks. Apparently, Sentai's the only one who's bothering to put stuff out this week. Per Right Stuff's description, a funny thing happened to Kumi when she moved to Kyoto to take over her grandmother's sweet shop. While she does find a store that sells cheap snacks, the supposedly empty adjoining residence is instead inhabited by 3 other girls, Harumi, Mai, and Kei, plus a dog who claim to be a legendary heroes reincarnated into our world. However, that's not as exciting as it sounds, as the demon lord they were seeking never showed up, so they've just been hanging out waiting for something to happen. And then the demon lord shows up, apparently, but it's not as planned. I feel like I heard about this in passing. I did not hear much about it, but based on the description, it sounds like a pretty fun little program. I feel like I would be more than happy to add this to the list next time Sentai puts it on sale at, let's say, $10, $12, something like that. Probably not worth paying full price for, but sounds like fun, and I'll definitely give it a go. I'm actually debating. A&N doesn't even have a rating for it yet. It's production IG, so that's pretty cool. They do some good, solid visuals. I don't know. I'm like on the border. I almost want to go yes, please, because this sounds really fun, but I'm probably going to leave it at curious.
Yep. And of course, this is our board. Can you see it all right?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, good. And of course, we got priority, which, as always, means that it will be ours. Oh, yes, it will be. Yes, please. We're definitely wish listing that item. May not get it, but is definitely going to always. We're going to keep an eye on it. Curious. Looks interesting. Might need more info. Usually, it's a lot of curiouses might need more info, or it's all right. Meh. Well, might be willing to try it out, really cheap or free. And then Hell No, which means it can't belong in the collection. No, go away.
It means hell no.
And I'm willing to keep it with Curious for this. But the other one out here is one that Jake covered a while back. But they're releasing this again in a cheaper form, which is odd because it is still in print. The other Sentai release is still in print on Right Stuff. It still has... I don't know what really is the difference. They're both Blu-ray only sets. They both have the dub.
They do? Okay.
Yeah, so...
Well, this one has the little stripe across the top that says from the creative team behind Cowboy Bebop.
That's why it's almost $20 less.
Probably.
It is Kids on the Slope, which is a wonderful series. Kaoru Nishimi has spent his life on the move, always struggling to fit into new schools and having to push on just when he'd start to set down roots. But when he comes to stay with his excited family in seaside Kyushu, things will be different. So this is a series that takes place, I believe, in the 60s or 70s, and
earlier than the 70s. I can't remember if it was 60s or 50s, but yeah, it's back.
And essentially, it revolves a lot around music, and I want to say jazz type. And it's kind of funny because we're covering Whiplash as one of the films for Inside Movies Galore this Tuesday. So it's kind of funny to have us covering this.
It's good timing.
This would have been a great one to cover as well. An amazing series. We have a lot of really good musical series out there. And, I don't think we've covered any for our anime discussion. Maybe I'll pick one of those for for my month of June. But June is a good ways away. But Kids on the Slope is a near masterpiece. It is an excellent series. Amazing writing, amazing acting goes into it. If I didn't have it, it would be a priority. I might have held to see if it goes on sale, but if I had an inkling that it was going to go out of print, I would snap it up. If I didn't have it already, I have the more expensive version of this.
Yeah, super expensive. Yeah, so here, I have to admit, this is one that I don't think I snapped up immediately. But I don't think I waited long. Like, I got it sooner than I would a lot of shows in terms of pricing and availability and whatever. And I agree. If I knew that it was going out of print, I would have snapped it up in a heartbeat. I did see it eventually, and it's a very, very good show. This is the show that reteamed Shinichi Watanabe with Yoko Kanno. And don't go into it expecting something like Cowboy Bebop, because it's not. But definitely it is an excellent series, brilliant use of music. Definitely a priority for the collection.
All right. See, we're going on top here.
Yep.
All right. So we've covered the anime for our anime peoples, but let's take a look at the other things coming out next week. That's a lot of fun DVDs and Blu-ray goodness.
Such a long list.
I know. We've been having a lot of long lists lately. You know, I have a feeling we're going to be hit by a cyclone, though, eventually.
Right.
There you go.
Okay. We got the Basher box set, which features The Prodigal Boxer and The Awakened Punch 4K restoration. Ooh. Because those 70s Chopsaki films really need to be seen in 4K. I mean, absolutely. But that's apparently what this is. There's a couple of those old Chopsaki films, one from 75, 73, and one from 72, I guess. And there are, I don't really know a great deal about these, but they're supposed to be really fun. They're supposed to be pretty solid entries in the genre. If you're big into this genre, then it's probably a really good set to pick up. This is Pearl River, I guess, the company releasing it.
Let's see here.
VCI Entertainment. Okay.
Yeah.
So I don't know much about their releases, but this looks like it could be interesting. Again, for your collectors of this genre, definitely. It's not a bad price point for two movies. I would definitely wait for the price to come down, but this is enough for me, certainly, to say curious.
For Awakened Punch and Prodigal Boxer.
Right.
So, yeah, I'm willing to be curious. I mean, they might be fun. Definitely, I mean, it says 34, I believe.
Somewhere there.
I'd have to see the box itself to see if it's worth it. I mean, if it's a really fancy box, like it's really nicely done, maybe it's worth it. I just don't know yet. I'd have to see.
Right. Okay.
So, moving on. One of my extra additions to keep up with Jake's pace is a Troma re-release called The Children.
Oh, you would have put that on anyway.
I was tempted, I admit, but I have a list that's like, okay, I will fill these in if I have to. So a nuclear plant leak turns a busload of children into murderous atomic zombies with black fingernails. I like how black fingernails is something we have to make sure we know about on that.
You got to mention that, yeah.
So, I don't know much about this film. I am usually cautious when it comes to Troma because their effects... It's weird. Troma is weird because if you took out the weird gross out effects that they do, I would say that I can't think of any Troma films I would hate. But the gross out effects make it hard to watch a lot of those for me. And I don't have quite as much of a setback as Jake does with that. But I don't know. It's one that I would be interested in, but I'm not sure I would get it unless it was, if it was cheapish, but it's a little bit more than meh, but not quite yes please. So yeah, I just put that there. I'm curious.
I don't know honestly what to make of Troma. I've heard so much about them, and most of what I've heard makes me think I should run screaming for the hills. But also, some of what I've heard makes me feel like I want to support them, and it's like, I don't know.
A lot of brilliant horror comedy. A lot of brilliant horror comedy comes from Troma. The problem is their gore effects.
Well, I like the this user review on IMDb. The first line they have is, "This is one of those movies. It's like an idiot stepchild. It's totally moronic, but still strangely hard to dislike." and they keep going on about it, but it's like, I really, really, really don't know with this one. I'm willing to give it the benefit of the doubt insofar as if someone gave it to me, I would not throw it away. I can't guarantee I would ever watch it, but I'm willing to give it a meh.
Yep. As far as effects, I think you saw Slime City, right?
Ugh.
That'd probably be about the closest thing that I could think of trauma-ish effects. I mean, Street Trash as well, but I don't think you watched Street Trash with us, did you?
No.
You probably
I heard I am better off. All right. Fire will come.
Let's say he's burning his hands.
Something like that. Well, I think it's a guy who just got out of being institutionalized for arson. Something like that. But, anywho, a film by Oliver Laxe or whatever. This is Fire Will Come, or Okel Arde. It is a Galician and Spanish language film from Spain, France, and Luxembourg. Came out a couple years ago. Apparently makes excellent use of silence and silent stretches. At least that's my understanding based on what I've read about it. It looks like a good artsy film, not super ultra long. Fires involved. I mean, all of that's good, positive stuff. I'm moderately curious.
Yeah, it looks potentially interesting. I'll go with that. It's a DVD only release, by the way.
Good to know.
So, Fukushima 50, which again, I believe this is a documentary. And
No, it's an actual film. I mean,
okay.
an actual film. The feature, yeah.
Okay, Japan Tohoku region.
Tohoku.
At the magnitude 9.0, the strongest earthquake in the country's history strikes, triggering a huge tsunami and a carnage that would end up injuring thousands of people and displacing many more. It mercilessly engulfs the Fukushima Daiichi nuclear power plant in Fukushima Prefecture, causing a crippling station blackout. Unable to be cooled, the nuclear reaction quickly turns into hydrogen bombs at the brink of explosion. If the power plant is abandoned, Japan's destruction is assured. Facing a life or death situation, the power plant workers known as the Fukushima 50, including shift supervisor Izaki and plant manager Yoshida, remain on the site until the bitter end. So I figure this is a dramatization of the events that happened. It is kind of a sad event. It also shows that the Japanese government isn't necessarily as good to its people as we would like it to be, because they've lied a lot about Fukushima and the environmental impacts, which is sad because it also has prevented a lot of environmental cleanup too. For them just to be saying, nope, nothing's wrong, you move along. But yeah, I had looked at this. This is one that we kind of both shared interest in. I saw anything about Fukushima. I've liked a lot of documentaries watched about it, and watching a dramatization might be interesting. I'll be curious as to how it looks. And Ken Watanabe is not a bad actor, so.
No, he's an excellent actor, and anything he's in is probably worth the look. So, yeah.
I'd say I'm a strong curious on it.
Yeah. Same here.
So, moving on.
Okay. I Blame Society. That's actually an appropriate follow-up for what we were just talking about, isn't it?
Yes.
So, this is a movie, I think it's a Kino Lorber release, actually.
Kino release.
They've got an interesting assortment of stuff this week. So this is a very new film. Apparently had its came out last year at a couple of film festivals. Had its proper release this year, and it stars Gillian Wallace Horvat, writer, director, and she stars as Jillian. A struggling filmmaker realizes that the skill set needed to make a movie is the same to commit the perfect murder. So, in a sense, this kind of reminds me of maybe being something in the same vein as Behind the Mask, the rise of Leslie Vernon, but, you know, if the filmmaker in that decided she wanted to be the slasher rather than film the slasher, I could be wrong, but that's where I'm thinking they're going with this. I am curious. It may be pretty bad or it may be brilliant. Won't know until I see it, but I'm certainly very curious.
You know, I think I have confused Amazon as far as what they want to sell me, because I look up everything that comes out. So it's like,
yeah,
we can't peg his interests.
That's probably a good thing.
So you put that as curious?
Yeah.
Yeah, I can leave it there. All right, moving on. Hercules and the Captive Woman, 1963. I first saw this on Mystery Science Theater 3000. So it is not the Steve Reeves Hercules. It is a different one. And again, it's your standard fare 1960s Hercules film. I can't really say much more than that. It's one that I kind of just added as a, like, I recognize the title of this and I need to make up numbers. So I was like, add this. But really and truly, for me, it's more of a meh. I mean, I'd rather just get the episode that they cover it on Mystery Science Theater than have it. So,
hey, maybe they have it as a bonus feature. That would be cool. That would be cool. Isn't this also? No, I don't think this is. It looks like a Kino release, but I can't remember.
Let's see here. It is a film detective.
No, film detective. Well, yeah, let's see what they have for bonus features.
Let's see, bonus features, full feature.
Oh, they
Mystery
do.
Science Theater. They do have it.
There you go. So, okay, that might be worth getting. I'll be curious.
I can raise it to curious with that as a feature, so I'm willing to try that. You know, that's how they really should market it. They should just release the films and include the episode as the special feature. That one, I think more should do that. That would be kind of cool.
Like, I would definitely get a separate copy of Santa Claus Conquers the Martians if that was a bonus feature on it or something like that, you know?
Definitely.
Does your copy of Santa Claus have the MST3K on it?
I don't think it does, but I haven't looked at the special
They
features.
should. Okay. So we have Leap of Faith, William Friedkin on The Exorcist, which, as you may be able to guess, is about William Friedkin's take on The Exorcist. I'll be honest, I don't really know offhand if that's the most adequate description or not, but it certainly seems like it could be. This is a documentary, came out a couple of years ago. Basically, it's written and directed by Alexandre Felipe, and, well, it didn't make everyone happy, that's for sure. But, but I'm going to be honest, I have never been a huge fan of The Exorcist, and I don't think I ever will be. It's a good movie. I understand its importance to cinema. My main interest in this is that any film that's important to cinema, I like to know more about it and the background behind it. And I think this should be able to give some insight on that. It's got my curiosity, but I definitely wouldn't pay a lot for it. I see this being maybe a $10 pickup at best, but I could go curious.
Let's see. I can stay there. Shudder has some good releases. If I really want to see it first, I could actually see it on our subscription to Shudder. But so many things. All right, so Iron Master. One of those sword and sorcery films that they did back in the day. Let's see, who was it that released this? Kino, yes. A tale that hurls you back to the dawn of human history. On his own, exiled tribesman Voodoo discovers how to fashion weapons out of iron and use them for his new tribe's survival and demolishing their enemies. When the new leader of their former tribe, Ella, figures out how this clan can survive by creating their own iron, it becomes a battle to the death between two brutal forces. Who will win, and at what cost? So it's kind of so it's a Stone Age fantasy classic. I have not seen this one for a while, so I can't really comment on it other than it looked interesting in passing. So I would be willing to give it a curious more than anything else.
A low curious.
All right, moving on.
Moving right along. My Little Sister. This was apparently Switzerland's entry into the Oscar race. And apparently that's the best thing it has going for it. Everything I've heard about it, which is not much, but what I've heard about it is that it's overlong and tedious and, the kind of film that the critics would love and your average person would probably be reaching for the remote.
Sell it, man.
But
Sell it.
Well, the fact that the Switzerland apparently thought a lot of it does have my curiosity up, if only because I've seen so few Swiss films. So I'm willing to give it a curious, if only because of that. But it's a low curious. I certainly wouldn't rush and beat down the door to get a copy.
Well, my love for kind of boring artsy films is about as much as your love for gory horror films. Again, I rarely give a hell no to things, so I would probably go with a meh on my end for that, until I've seen it. If I see it and I go, ooh, this was awesome, then I might change my mind.
You never know. You might be the person that it connects with.
Maybe. Just like Dogtooth.
Or just like this one, Josie and the Pussycats.
So this is another one that kind of just hit me out of like, Again, I was trying to add a couple to try and make our numbers even. And it's Josie and the Pussycats and Outer Space, the complete series. Because... I like the original Josie and the Pussycats well enough. It was cute. It was one of those, mystery-solving rock bands, and this was their continuation where they got on a spaceship and went through space and sang through space, and it had a really awful theatrical adaptation, and otherwise it was okay. I'm kind of glad to see these old cartoons getting a release, but I have no desire to get it. So, in this case, oddly enough, the original would warrant a curious, but this sequel series is meh.
Strangely enough, I didn't hate the movie, but I know of Josie and the Pussycats. I have for some time, but I never really saw it as a kid. I had no freaking clue that they went into outer space. This is news to me. I'm going to have to go meh. I would not spend a lot for that. I would happily buy it for $1, but
if I saw it secondhand or at the Dollar Tree, maybe.
Yeah. Okay. Oliver Sacks, His Own Life. Well, as you can probably guess from the title, this is a documentary about Oliver Sacks. And that is what you need to know about this. If you know who Oliver Sacks is, then you're definitely going to immediately be kind of, oh, I want to see that, or I don't. If you're like me and you just love watching good documentaries and you suspect this could be one, which it does have a good rating, 163 people say that it's a 7.9. But I think it could be quite interesting. I would not rush out to get this, but I would certainly put it at a curious.
I can leave it at a curious. I'd have to know more before I would up it or downvote it more. All right. Something that needs no explanation. Killer Pinata. I mean, look at that cover. I mean, that right there. I mean, look at the little face they drew on her, and you know, this goes right next to Pinata Island, right there. I don't want to pay $40 for it, but
$40.
Yeah. A possessed Pinata seeking
Rising Sun
to avenge the savagery of that humanity has inflicted upon his kind. He picks off a group of friends one by one in an unending night of terror. There's a 5th anniversary of it. This is what Pinata Island probably should have been. So I can't really justify buying it for this price point, but it's enough that I'm going to wish list it and keep a close eye on the price so that when it does come down enough, I'm probably going to snag it up. So I guess that counts as a yes, please, since I'm wish listing the darn thing. But I have a hard time not for a horror comedy about a killer pinata who wants revenge for its fellows being hurt.
I love on IMDb they list apparently one of the quote crazy credits for this one. No animals were hurt during the production of this film except the pinata. He got pretty effed up. I cannot go yes please on that, but I am definitely curious.
All right, and we'll get in there. All right, moving on.
Quality work there. And speaking of quality work, we have this week. Oh man, sorry. I have been eagerly waiting this, as you could tell from that nice big yawn there. I have been eagerly awaiting this. Kino is putting out not one, but a pair of the classic Mel Brooks films. And this is the one that I think most people, usually this one and Blazing Saddles, are the one that everyone raves about. Personally, for my money, the best one was Young Frankenstein. But anyway, but The Producers is an excellent film from 1968. Stars Zero Mostel and Gene Wilder. And, of course, you know, again, directed by Mel Brooks. Zero Mostel, however you say it, was remade as a far less successful comedy with Nathan Lane, Matthew Broderick, Will Ferrell, and Uma Thurman, based on the Broadway musical, which I really wish I could have gone to see. I heard it was just phenomenal, but one of the more successful musicals. But anyway, basic gist of this is Zero Mostel is a play producer, stage producer, who is deep in the red. His accountant, who's played by Gene Wilder, is very like, you're in the red, you are in trouble, you know. So together they cook up a scheme to make money by intentionally creating a flop. And in doing so, they seek to produce the most offensive screenplay imaginable. And they find this guy played by Kenneth Mars, who has written basically a love letter to Adolf Hitler, including the musical number Springtime for Hitler, which is just a great piece of music. It is a great piece.
Yes, it is.
And the movie it's quite fun. And Kino is putting out a really nice new edition with lots of bonus features. I will definitely be upgrading. I have a pretty basic DVD copy of this. I will definitely be upgrading. I do think it's an essential to the collection. Most Mel Brooks films are, but this is definitely on the short list of you've got to get it. Mm-hmm. I'm willing to go priority for this one because I will be getting this version.
I don't know whether I would consider it priority, but definitely a yes, please. It's not my favorite by far, though. If Kino puts it on sale, I would. They will be willing to get, like, if it gets down to like $10 or something like that. I would be more willing to look into it. I think it's what, 20. Is that right?
Something like that.
Yeah,
I think though
right now.
There's a high likelihood that you'll see $10 if you're patient enough.
Yeah.
I'll probably end up getting it for like 12, but whatever.
And for now, my DVD copy is enough to keep my place. I do think it's one that should be in a collection, but not one that I'm going to be like that I feel must have.
I kind of wish they had packaged the two together in a one collection, though. That would have been nice. But
I'd like to see an additional collection, because I don't think the producers was the producers in that Mel Brooks collection.
No, it wasn't.
See, that's the thing. I think both of the films that we're talking about here were not in that collection. So
I think they were among the very small number that were left out.
That's a good. That would be an interesting thing, because that one, Spaceballs, Men in Tights, I don't think was Men in Tights. No,
Men in Tights was. Dracula Dead and Loving It was not.
Well, yeah.
And I think there were a couple more of the early ones that were not.
So get the remainder of it and call it the leftovers collection, and have it in there.
No, I just want to see a Criterion release of the complete Mel Brooks collection.
So this is more of a train wreck, at least it looks like. Lily's Light, the movie, which, again, this was one of those that I had as filler. And I was looking for one last filler one to even us out. And then I saw this pig on the cover. I mean, look at this dude. I mean, he's got the sunglasses. He's got, like, this helmet on. And I'm like, okay, I got to cover this. This looks bad.
I don't know. 7.9 rating from 33 people.
So let's see what it says here. When two curious members of Lily's crew discover the big book of little adventures in a lighthouse basement, the adventure begins. Messenger Pelican pell-mell brings news to a newly orphaned Daniel and his pot-bellied pig Oink. Okay, so the sisters Peaches and Dee, played by Mindy Sterling and Felice Sampler, Snickerbicker, interesting name, Professor Crab perfects the Iliator, Will and Al Patchett prepare for guests, and Lily and the kids and Uncle Fitz take Daniel on a musical journey where they meet Sir Oinksalot and the Wizard of Hog. So I don't know. Maybe people are like upvoting it, or like 5-year-olds or something. But at the same time, this could just be one of those that's just so bad and strange it's good. And because of that, it's one to get me curious, because I mean, I pay a little bit more than $1 for it, but it's not one. I think it's what, 20 here, 24. Yeah, no.
No.
But still,
I kind of ignored this one at first because I saw it and I was like, yeah. But hearing the description, it's got Fred Willard in it. I can go low, curious. Yeah.
I mean,
just barely.
I mean, look at him. Look at him.
Yeah.
You can't say no to that.
Oh, yeah.
Face.
That's a cool looking pig.
All right.
Okay. Some Kind of Heaven. This is actually probably the one, other than the Mel Brooks and anime, really, you didn't have to pull as many filler ones as you did. You could have just taken from my list, honestly. But this is one that I actually have a genuine interest in. It's a documentary. Hit the festival circuit last year, but it just came out in January of this year, proper-like. But it's behind the gates of a palm tree-lined fantasy land. 4 residents of America's largest retirement community, the Villages, Florida, strive to find solace and meaning. So basically, it's a documentary about living in a retirement community. It's actually supposed to be very well done, very well made film. And it looks like it's probably not going to be something that will be entirely cheerful. It's probably going to be kind of poignant. Might have some stuff to it that kind of ticks me off. I won't be surprised one bit. But a good documentary often does that. This definitely looks like something I'm going to have to check out. I can't quite go, yes, please, but I will definitely go strong curious.
I can go moderate to low curious on that.
Mm-hmm.
All right, one that I actually did have on my list. And I had a couple of these on my list that we kind of shared earlier. But this is one that was solely on my list, which is Shrunken Heads Remastered. I mean, look at that cover. I mean, you can't not, like, enjoy that cover. I mean, he looks like he's kind of like...
Oh, yeah.
He's like the King Shrunken Head. And these guys
Superheroes
like,
from their heads to their necks.
Yeah, I've heard about this, and I believe the heads have superpowers. Yep, 3 superheroes are heads above the rest. From cult director Richard Elfman and producer Charles Band. Mo needs to get this one. A legendary comedy horror head trip available now on Blu-ray for the first time. Remastered from the original 35mm camera. Negative. And 3 inner-city kids are murdered in a gangland showdown gone wrong. A mysterious witch doctor opts to drag them back from the grave. Well, most of them anyway. The voodoo priest leaves the boys' bodies and only reanimates the heads. Now the trio of floating craniums are left to fly around New York City with one thing on their mind. Revenge. So, usually Full Moon isn't super bad about the gore, and this is more of a horror comedy than anything else. I actually have a fairly strong interest in this. I would be still a high curious because I haven't seen it, but it's definitely up there in the upper curious.
I had pretty much given this one a pass, but as much as Mo raves about the Full Moon stuff, and you guys always talking about Charles Band and whatnot, and this does sound delightfully absurd. I'm willing to go low curious.
All right, moving on.
Okay. This is not a movie. Robert Fisk and the Politics of Truth. So once again, a documentary. Although, as it tells you, it's not a movie. I don't recall offhand who this one follows. Robert Fisk, I do believe. And it's from documentary Yungchan. And yeah, there you go. That's all you gotta know about that. It's supposed to be pretty well made. I am kind of curious. That's as far as I'm going on that.
Yeah, I really don't know much about this, so I can go a little curious because it does. The title definitely brings my mind to maybe. All right, now one that's way above that. Spaceball is getting a 4K release.
With a Spaceball.
Now, I knew this. I knew this one was coming for a while, actually.
Yeah.
So I was kind of prepared for that. Looks like it must be an alternative cover there. So,
Well, that's the slip and the other, looks like.
so this one, of course, is a favorite of mine. It's my second favorite Mel Brooks film. Right underneath History of the World Part 1. And I used to watch this one along with that one. Probably, I've seen it hundreds of times, literally. So I like to think that I know this one. I could actually. It's one of the few films. There are a handful, about like 10 or 11 films that I have seen hundreds of times as a child, to the point where I have almost the entire script memorized. And this has a lot of memorable stuff. I mean, it's a space...
Yes.
It's Star Wars spoof mostly, with a little bit of Star Trek and some other stuff thrown in. And it is hilarious all the way down. If you haven't seen
Actually,
this,
we were... I was going to say, we were quoting this the other night with Judge Dredd.
yes.
Even in the future, nothing works.
And it has the late John Candy in it, of course.
Yes.
And Rick Moranis, which is re-entering the game. So who knows? Maybe if they get a sequel going, and they've kind of been on an on-again, off-again deal, he might do it, because I do know that recently he said, if somebody's willing to give me a part that's worth my while, I'd be willing to do it. Of course, that was before COVID, but still, I could see this if things can get around to where they could film on it. I could see him returning for this.
Right.
So this would be great. I recently got an upgrade to my DVD with What Movie One sending his copy, but I have a feeling this one is going to be on my list to upgrade because it needs to be. So I will put this as a priority. It is my second favorite film as far as Mel Brooks is concerned, and I also think it is a must-have for everybody. Not just a must-have on the surface, like I consider The Producers, which is a good film, but I consider this and that one in Blazing Saddles to be overrated in many ways. But this one, I think, is underrated by many.
Yes.
It's a freaking awesome thing, and I will be upgrading. I'll probably wait on a sale, but I will be upgrading. Oh, yes.
And you forgot what's probably your favorite bonus feature of all. I don't know if you noticed, it said watch Spaceballs in ludicrous speed. And I know you like watching your movies speeded up, so there you go. You can, if all movies had that option, right?
If I'm watching it in 4K, I tend to not.
Right.
But, if I'm watching it on like a regular, and I've seen it a couple of times, I'm willing to run it through.
And definitely, I like how this does have a Mel Brooks commentary. I need to watch that commentary track. This, I agree, this is an underrated film. It actually was my introduction to Star Wars type stuff. I was a fan of Spaceballs long before I ever watched any Star Wars movies. And it is a classic film. And I fully agree. I will be upgrading. I have a pretty basic DVD copy. I will be upgrading to this edition probably at the same time as The Producers if they both go on sale at the same time. So I can definitely agree that that's a priority.
All right.
And it has one of the great villain songs of all time. Hear the Spaceballs. Okay, Wildlife, or The Wildlife, sorry. We have a very interesting film from, I believe, the early 80s here, with starring Chris Penn, who, if I recall correctly, passed on too young. And, this was written by Cameron Crowe? I didn't even realize that. Yeah, so Chris Penn died close to 20 years ago. Wow. So this is an Art Winson film directed by Cameron Crowe, Chris Penn, Eric Stoltz, Jenny Wright, Leah Thompson, Rick Moranis, there you go, Hart Bachner, several other people in it. Apparently, Randy Quaid shows up, apparently. Yeah. Sherilyn Fenn is in there. Ben Stein. That is a cast. Cameron Crowe shows up at one point. And so basically a high school wrestler parties with his buddy at a swinging singles apartment complex, 1984 film. I don't imagine that this is going to be high art by any stretch of the term, but it looks fun. It's got a pretty interesting pedigree to it. I am more than willing to give it a look at some point, so I'll go curious.
Yeah, I can give it a high curious on that one.
Okay.
I admit I passed it over when I looked at it initially, but hearing that does make it more interesting to me. All right. So, speaking of one...
You were looking at that next one.
Speaking of one that's just got my interest up, if only the price point wasn't so high, but it's just coming out, and it's a new film.
Right.
It's a Nick Cage film called Willy's Wonderland. Right. I mean, look at this. Again, isn't that just... Oh, yeah. Right. It kind of looks like the Five Nights at Freddy's movie, which the Banana Splits, by the way, if you like those kind of like horror comedy films, Banana Splits is worth it. If you haven't gotten it, I got it fairly cheap, and it was worth it. Every bit. I still need to, when I get the money together, get PG Psycho Goreman as well. Quiet loner Nick Cage finds himself stranded in a remote town when his car breaks down. Unable to pay for the repairs he needs, he agrees to spend the night cleaning Willy's Wonderland, an abandoned family fun center. But the Wonderland has a dark secret that the janitor is about to discover. He soon finds himself trapped inside Willy's and locked in an epic battle with the possessed animatronic mascots that roam the halls. Okay, so, yes, this is pretty much Five Nights at Freddy's, the movie, and I bet you this will be a ton of fun. I am willing to bet money this is going to be fun. I'm not going to put it as a priority, but it is a yes please for me. It is a I need to get it. It's wish listed, and as soon as it comes down to a price that I feel is manageable, I will be getting it.
So this IMDb user comment claims that Nick Cage does this all pretty much silent, that he doesn't really say much of anything. So that's intriguing. And they also say it's Nick Cage is absolutely himself dialed to 11. And we all know what that means. It worries me that this is supposedly kind of a gory film. So I can't really say that I really, 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 really want to see it. But I kind of really want to see it. The IMDb Parents Review says that it's more blood than gore. So if that's the case, I'll be fine with that. So, yes, I'm definitely willing to go curious on this one.
All right. Yeah, it's hard to look away from that. It looks like a train wreck.
It is.
Too beautiful to not look at.
Exactly. As is often the case with Nicolas Cage.
And a film identical to it.
Actually, isn't it? Well, I don't know. It sounds like he was making history at night. So history is made at night. New Criterion film. I don't know why I had trouble with that. 1937 release by Frank Borzage. A wealthy divorcee falls for a charming Parisian but her insanely jealous ex-husband will do anything to get her back. And that stars Charles Boyer, Jean Arthur, Leo Carrillo, other folks, but some pretty relatively well-known people from the time. I know relatively little about this as a film, to be honest. It's not one that really has spent a lot of time on my radar, but it looks certainly like it could be good. It's probably worth giving it a look. Now that it has the Criterion stamp of approval, I'm certainly going to be that much more interested in trying to give it a look. And I believe, I'm just double checking here, it has a decent special features, not anything extraordinary, but pretty decent. So, yeah, I think that would be worth giving it a look. So, I can't really truly go yes, please with that, but I'm certainly willing to go hi, curious.
Okay. Darn it, Criterion, release American Factory already.
Yes.
I need that one to complete my set. But any case, this one I really don't have a lot of interest in. I don't usually give Criterions anything below a curious because they usually hold my curiosity to say, I wonder why this got Criterion. So you never know what I'll pick up on one of those sales at random. But this would be more of one of those random afterthoughts, and there are plenty in line ahead of it. So I think I'll keep it at curious. All right, so I'm ending this and one I took from you, which is Ancient Aliens Season 13. I don't know about you, but...
Well, I was going to say, it's obviously the season you want to start with.
Oh, obviously. Well, there is a set. There's a complete series set out there. This 10th anniversary edition here, which I can't remember how many seasons it has.
Probably 10.
Maybe 10, yeah. Actually, yeah, you're probably right because of 10. But yeah, but the series continues. And this is a beautiful set, by the way. That one is an amazingly beautiful set. But to me, I've not really been a huge interest in it. My father loves this series, which is why I'm familiar with it. He used to watch this one religiously, so I ended up having to watch it whenever I was over there. Thank goodness I was an adult and didn't have to be, because I can tell you if this was going on when I was a child, I would have had to have seen every episode. I would have been forced to watch every episode. And it's interesting. A lot of theoreticals, a lot of odd stuff. I know you had an interest in this as well. Have you seen any of the episodes of this series?
I have not, but I have heard of it. Yeah.
It's a low curious for me.
Yeah.
But that's about as high as I can muster.
I can go with that.
All right. Well, with that, we've got our lineup here. Now, we had a couple that were kind of left behind. I was actually surprised that the debut did not make your list.
I kind of ignored it.
Honeydew is one that I was confused about because I had a hard time finding a listing for it other than digital release, which is kind of a horror. Also, I have talked about it more. And that's really all about the stuff that I had any even inkling of. So, but we did have a cool lineup up there. Yeah.
Not bad.
A couple of priorities this time.
Yeah.
Some pretty strong ones. Strong ones up there right now. So with that being said, of course, hit that like button, subscribe, share, and of course we'll see you on the next one. Goodbye.